this video, we're going to look at how to install a local web development environment by setting up a web server on your personal computer for Windows. And in this instance, we're going to be using a product called WAMPserver. It's free, and what it does is it sets up Apache, MySQL, and PHP on a personal Windows machine. You can find WAMPserver at WAMPserver.com, and that's where we're going to start our journey. So the first thing we're going to need to do is download it. So we'll go to the Download tab, and that drops us down to that section of the page. You can see we have two versions, 32-bit or 64-bit, so you pick the one that's appropriate for your computer. And then I'll scroll down here just a little bit, and you can see we have this Add-Ons section, and that allows me to change versions. So if you look at the main download here, underneath in teeny tiny text, it has the versions that this download is going to give you. So like PHP 5.3 something. If I go down to that PHP section here, I can pick another version if I don't want PHP 5.3. Say if I want to also have PHP 5.2 because I need to test between both versions. So I can just go, normally you just pick the latest version. I would click that and download that as well, and then I would be able to toggle back and forth between those. And you can see you can do this for Apache and MySQL as well. So I'm going to go ahead and download the actual server. You get this form that you're supposed to fill out, but you don't have to fill this form out. If you read the text, which most people probably don't, you can just download it directly with this link. So I'm going to click that rather than giving someone my personal information. And then of course this is going to need to load, and then it'll pop up with our download information. One thing I want to point out real quickly is only download from this pop-up. Don't click a download button on the screen that's big and shiny and pretty, because they're just trying to get you to get other things. So I'm going to click Save File from this so that I can actually download the exe so that I can use it. That'll take a minute or two. Once we have that downloaded, I can go ahead and open that up to begin the installer. It provides a little wizard. We're going to walk through a couple of screens here. It shows you also what you're installing. So we'll get started with this. Agree to the license agreement. You should probably read it. Nobody ever does. Then you can pick where you want to actually have the WAMP, the server, all the stuff for that stored in your directory structure. It wants to put it in CWAMP. It's a fine location for me, but if you'd like to put it somewhere else, you can change that here. I'm not going to create icons, but again, personal choice, up to you. And then click Next, and we have just a summary of what we're doing. Click Install, and let it install. And that's going to take a little bit of time. Maybe we'll do a little video fast forward here. And you can see we're almost done. We get a pop-up though saying it's detected Firefox, and it just wants to know if we want to use that as the default browser with our server. I'm going to say yes, because I tend to use Firefox for most everything. And then it also is letting me know Windows is going that it's detected an HTTP server, which could be a problem, asking if I want to make sure that I want to use this and allow it to work. So pretty much it's just giving me a warning. We want to just leave this at private networks. That's fine. I don't need this to connect to public networks. I'm just working locally. So when this comes up, you can just leave it at its defaults and allow access, and that's fine. But it is going to warn you, and you need to allow access in order for it to work locally. Now we are going to start filling some things out here. It has to do with email, which I'm generally not worried about, and it's just going to set up some basic information about the email server that it's installing. So again, the defaults here are totally fine, and we can just move on. And that's the wizard, and the checkbox for launching it was checked. So it's going to fire up the WAMP server. Let me close some of the stuff out so we can get rid of some of this noise here. Now it started up. You didn't see anything pop up, but you'll notice down here in your bar down here that you'll see a little green W, and that is WAMPserver. And when it's green, that means it's running. And if the icon down here in the panel goes away, I always like to customize it so that the WAMPserver icon is just always there, so I always know whether it's up or on or off. So I'm going to set that in my settings there so that it doesn't keep disappearing on me. And let's open it up, and I'm going to click on localhost. This is the root of the web server that's serving web pages. WAMPserver has this index page with all this information about the software that you have installed and the versions. We have a link for PHP info, so I can get more information about my PHP installation, right? And the versions at the top there. We also have PHP-MyAdmin installed, so you can come here, start working with your databases. You'll notice that the address is localhost/PHP-MyAdmin. So everything's going to start in localhost and everything kind of goes from there. And we'll come back and look at some of this other stuff here in a second. But this is sort of your main start page for WAMP. So back in our menu here, you'll see that there is a PHP-MyAdmin link that goes to the same place as the one we just clicked. But this is an important thing, the www directory. This is where all of your websites live. So let's take a look and see where that actually is in the file structure of your computer. I'm going to go to C. We installed it in C, so WAMP is where the WAMP installation is. You can see there's a lot of stuff in here. This is everything for the web server to run. And but the folder that we're looking for here is the www. That's where you put all the website files. So we can pop in here and you can see there's some stuff in here that WAMP has already set up, that index page that you have and such. But I'm going to show how to actually add like a new, let's test to make sure this is working. I'm going to add a new website project that I'm going to be working on, say. I'll just call it my site. And I'll go into that folder, and in here this is where my website's going to live, so I can put my HTML or PHP or whatever in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just open up Notepad here real quickly, Notepad++, and I'm just going to create a very simple file called Welcome to My Site, text file, not even putting HTML in there. And then when I'm going to save it in here, just make sure you don't save it as a .txt file. You need to actually have it end with HTML if it's HTML, or PHP if it's with PHP. And Windows can be a little funny about that. So index.html is the name of the file. So simple text, index.html. You can see that that's in here now, right? WAMP www my site folder for this particular site. I'm going to click on the index, and you can see here's the whole file path. So it's just like opening any file on my computer. It shows the entire file path from C down. But it's, it shows a file. It's a text file. Now if we go back to the web server, go back to my WAMP page here, you see I have a list of my projects. It lists all the folders in the www folder. And when I click the link this time, I get the page. It's loading in the browser, but it's actually loading with a URL at localhost my site. It's not just doing a file, opening a file. So now the web server is working, and this under my site, localhost my site, is going to be my development site that I'm working on. Okay, so now let's go back to the menu and talk about some things we didn't talk about before. Start all services, stop all services. This is how you start and stop the web server. So if I click stop, you notice it turns red. The icon turns red, and if I reload my web page that I was just viewing, it is not able to connect because the web server is not currently running. In order for me to get back to it, I can start all services being Apache MySQL. Restart it, it turns green. I know it's running, and then the website works. So that's just something else you really need to kind of pay attention to, whether you actually have it turned on or not. So this was a quick intro to WAMPserver, how to install it, and some basics of using it, getting a site folder set up. In the next video, we're also going to look at how to then tweak some of the configuration and settings and get into some of the other items that are in the WAMPserver menu. So, happy developing, and see you next time. Drupalize.Me